of us will just get tired of it and then let go at some point. Ridwan Karim Dini-Osman.
Joshua, Kodjo, Mensah. I mean, good to see you.
I mean, absolutely.
And I think what the viewers don't know is that we have been friends for close to 10 years, right?
Long time.
Yeah, long time.
And the funny thing is, when it started, we didn't even meet, we didn't see each other.
Yes.
But we were believed, and today here we are.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how God works, and you're doing great. You're doing wonderful.
I mean, coming from you.
I mean, it's out there. You're doing great,
you.
and I'm super proud of you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm even more proud of you. Now I'm lost. I don't even know how to start this interview. But Ridwan, I mean, you've had a lot of big things happen, and now Harvard. Talk to me about this fellowship, my brother.
I obviously didn't see it coming, you know, and I just want to say that I am super grateful to God. It has not been an easy journey. I had the opportunity to do this profession immediately after high school. Yeah. Somebody just gave me that opportunity. And it's been from one thing to the other, and you know, being selected as a Nieman Fellow at Harvard is just an important validation for me. It shows that the work that I do is important, because you know that in this profession, people notice the errors. They don't notice the effort. Your news editor will tell you that if you get the story, then we are concerned that you almost drowned. But if you don't get the story, nobody actually cares that the floodwaters nearly carried you away. Yeah. That is the nature of, you know, the job. And to have an institution as important as Harvard say that we see the potential for growth, we see the potential for leadership, and we are going to give you this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Go there and make everything that you have envisioned, everything that you have dreamt of, a reality. It's an important validation, and I think it's going to walk my career a face, and the best is definitely yet to come.
The best is definitely yet to come, and I look at the 22.
Yes,
22. You,
yes.
And there is only one Ridwan. There is only one who looks like me on there.
Yeah.
The only African.
Yes.
That must be really hectic.
Yes, you know, applying for fellowships are really difficult. It's not just about the Nieman Fellowship, but fellowships in general are very difficult to apply, because sometimes you fill long essay questions, you have to provide recommendations, and when you don't get selected, it's very frustrating and it can be very discouraging. And I often tell colleagues that, you know what, there are certain opportunities that I have applied. I had to apply on the second attempt. I had to, like, I got in on the second attempt. I got in on the third attempt, on the fourth attempt. Like recently, I was in Germany to attend a renewable energy conference. Joshua, I have been applying for that opportunity since 2019. And only got in 2025. But I hardly talk about, you know, the number of times that I have been rejected.
Exactly.
But
all we see is the acceptance.
Yes, the acceptance. And people think that, oh, everything is smooth and is smooth and flawless for him, but it's not like that. I got accepted into this program on my second attempt. Last year, I was shortlisted for an interview. I went through the interview. I was super excited, thinking that I was going to go through. And I was shocked with the rejection, you know, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try again. And here we are today. But most importantly, it's also about what am I going to do
exactly
at Harvard?
Because you've touched on climate change. You've done work on sanitation. You've done work on people who come into Ghana from other countries, get involved in child labor, among others. So what should we be expecting in terms of the issues that you intend tackling at Harvard?
There are a plethora of them, and I really appreciate the fact that you've gone through, you know, some of the issues that I cover. But just to circle back on the application process. So there are two application cycles. So we have one for the international applicants, which is those who live outside the U.S., and we have one for those in the U.S.
Okay.
And usually the first cycle is for those who live outside the U.S., and that's what I applied for. Okay. So at the end of the application, when the application closed, we were told that close to 300 people had sent in applications. Then when I got the invitation for the interview, we were 51 people that were being interviewed.
Wow.
You know, and in my mind, at most 12 of us are going to be selected. So how is it?
51.
Yes, 51. And who is going to get in? So I do the interview sometime in February.
Okay.
Then in April, I can never forget that day. On the 8th of April, it was around the evening, you know, around 5 p.m., I get a call. And the call says that, hello, is this Ridwan? This is Anne-Marie Lipinski from the Nieman Foundation. I am here with Henry, and we are so excited to offer you a Nieman Fellowship. Joshua, I was super excited. I mean, and the most difficult aspect of the whole thing is that I had to keep this to myself for a month.
Because you didn't even tell me.
No, because I was not allowed to talk. Sorry, I was not allowed to you know, to discuss it.
Yes.
I was not allowed to talk about it, you know, and people, you have friends and you attempted to say it, but when the call came, they said that this is extremely confidential and you're not allowed to tell anybody until the announcement is made. I must admit, though, that I told a few people, but they
also give them the caution.
Yes, they had to take an oath of secrecy that they were not going to tell anyone, you know. And for the announcement to be made on Thursday, I have been on cloud 9 because I'm getting calls from all over the world. You know, I have colleagues from Brazil, India, and across different parts of the continent. And, you know, the sheer joy and celebration and the fact that they are happy for me, it's also very important. Now to the question about what I'm going to do in Harvard. I have spent a lot of time doing a lot of work about global health inequities and human rights. And I come across people who are along the margins of society. And so when we say marginalized people, we are talking about people who live in poverty. We are talking about persons with disabilities. We are talking about women. We are talking about minority groups. And you realize that over the years, the way we have covered these people or these communities is simply wrong. It's simply unethical. And it also raises the question about how the industry polices itself. And that is just the crux of my focus at Harvard. Because for me, the realization is that I am 31 years. Very soon, young people like me would inherit the responsibility of fixing the problems that we are facing in the industry. And so being able to be at the forefront of the challenges and the solution is very critical. So for instance, and I know this example that I'm about to give will put me into a lot of trouble, but I'll still say it. Look at the stations in the Ashanti region, the radio stations in the Ashanti region. They have shows that are looking at dealing with domestic violence and domestic abuse. Fantastic idea. Well, you know, it's good and well intended. But I have a problem when these presenters bring sexual assault victims and survivors to their studios and subject them to the trauma of having to relive that experience that they went through. Absolutely. And the challenge is that they are asking them about salacious details, sometimes to the point of asking them how their abusers undressed them. Very graphic details. And they reduce these people that have had the courage, the bravery, and the strength to share their stories. The best we can do is to honor the bravery, the strength, and, you know, and the resilience of these women. But we bring them to the studio and we subject them, we reduce them to the butt of the joke. And you see on TikTok, people are sharing the videos and they are laughing and they are ridiculing them. In this day and age, it is unacceptable. So how do we develop strategies? How do we develop frameworks to help our colleagues who are doing this important job, but they are not doing it exactly the way it's supposed to be done? And to be very honest, we as journalists, we follow our curiosity during interviews all the time. In fact, for the most part, I do interviews without questions, which means that I'm just following my curiosity. But as a journalist, if you are interviewing people around issues that are sensitive, human rights, it's okay to follow your curiosity, but curiosity must go hand in hand with empathy, which is currently missing. So I think that these are some of the critical issues that I have been reflecting on over the years. That during my time at Harvard, I will be looking at how we can help our colleagues cover. Then there's one issue that I need to talk about, the issue about sexual assault survivors who would have to go. When somebody is sexually assaulted, they go to the hospital and they have to pay for medical examination. In this day and age, that is not supposed to be happening. You know, we need a law. And I hope that under the current administration, we will have a law that would abolish these fees because they are too high. And a lot of the girls who are sexually assaulted come from communities where people live on less than $2 a day. And if they are sexually assaulted and they have to go to hospital to pay about $100 to get medical support, to be able to take to the police station
Yeah.
and initiate prosecution.
Which is the first step.
Which is the first step. That is the greatest injustice any society can grapple with. So how do we tell the story as journalists in a way that speaks to the urgency of the situation, in a way that also speaks to our society that when people are sexually violated, for instance, it is okay for us to reintegrate them into society and not stigmatize them. Because a lot of the time when people are sexually assaulted and they are working into the communities, you have people pointing their fingers at them. That was the girl who was raped. And not everybody is able to, withstand that. And with time, they become suicidal. Then the final thing. Imagine a 17 or 16-year-old high school student, a female teacher, 30-year-old, drags this boy, and she has an intercourse with this guy. The guy wakes up and realizes that this is what my female teacher has done to me. What is the Constitution's position on that? Does Ghana's Constitution recognize that a man can be raped or sexually assaulted, for instance? There is lack of clarity around that. And even the society, boys, when a guy comes to tell you that somebody has done this to me, you say that no, you can't talk about it because you can't say that you have been raped, and the evidence and the science has shown that people who have been abused, when they don't get the support that they need, they also grow up and they become abusers. So that is why we need to tell these stories.
So that's Ridwan, a 31-year-old with an experience of a 60-year-old. Because look, I'm listening to the passion with which you speak about these issues, and that same passion lingers in almost everything I've seen you do over the years. So there are a lot of students who would be watching the show now. Journalism school, okay, I want to be like Ridwan. What are some of the things you can share with them this morning?
I mean, I'm going to keep it brief, but this can take like the whole day because I've been through a lot. I have been through a lot. Right. I mean, the likes of Kweku Teme, Conrad Kakraba would tell you, as far back as when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to do this, and so you need to constantly practice. But if there is one thing you need to take away from this interview, and I want to speak to them directly, is that nobody, absolutely nobody in this world can put a limit on what you can or cannot achieve. Don't let anybody subject you to that and say that, oh, you're too young to achieve this, oh, you're too little to do this. Just go all the way out. And another thing that I would also share is that you need to be very consistent. Never rest on your oars. I have won a couple of awards, but immediately, in the moment you receive the award, you are excited. But after some time, I'm asking myself, what is the next thing that I need to do? So it's a lot about diligence, it's a lot about hard work, it's a lot about consistency. But I also need to give you a caveat that staying consistent is very, very hard. Because in the kind of society that we live in, consistency comes with a huge price. When you are consistent, your successes and wins are expected. People don't find them as extraordinary anymore. So the more consistent you get, the quieter the applause becomes. And when you get to that stage, it can be very lonely, it can be very isolating. But what will carry you through the process is just believing in yourself, being a conviction person, because that's what I have always been, and just believing in your maker. I believe in God, that He is going to see you through and you're going to realize your dream. But like I said, you need to be focused. That is very important.
Ridwan Karim Dini-Osman. Now, I remember at your 30th birthday, we saw a reel of your journey. Yes. And I, for one, got to appreciate exactly what you've been through to get to where you are assistants now. So when you see the new crop of journalists who are surfacing now, now we have plurality of media houses, so many of them, people doing so many things. Would you say that you're very confident of the future of journalism here in Ghana?
Well, that's a tricky question. I think I see challenges and I see promise as well. Well, I am 31, but at the time I joined, I entered the newsroom, this was 2013, right after high school. Around that time, when the news breaks, the first thing, the priority was to get it on TV. Yes. But now we are more concerned about breaking it on social media. So a lot has changed. And also around that time, I spent a lot of time, you know, my colleagues, those who saw me at Joy News will tell you at the time, I go on YouTube and I will go on the Kenyan channels and download a lot of the news bulletins. Then at my free time, I'll be watching them, because at that time, I was interested in learning how the story is being told. And I realized that Kenya, for instance, and this is not to downplay the talent that we have here in Ghana, but Kenya has some of the brightest and creative storytellers. And so I was downloading these videos and just watching them, you know, and I was reading a lot of books. So in the newsroom, we go on break and we will pick another colleague who has done a brilliant story and we are discussing it. Those were, you know, the issues that got our attention at the time. But right now, with social media and everything, a lot is changing, you know, and also with the digital revolution, there is the issue about disinformation. There is an issue about deep fakes and stuff like that. So it's a bit challenging. But also the digital revolution holds a lot of promise for us. When you look at artificial intelligence, you realize a lot of our colleagues are using it just for scripting. But there are so many other things that you can use AI to do, to translating files, doing data analysis, and tracking even algorithms that will help you fight dis and misinformation. So I see a lot of promise there, but there are also real challenges within the industry that we need to address. I mean, there is no belaboring the fact that Ghana has a vibrant media landscape. But I'm sure you would also agree, Joshua, that we are dealing with a lot of political interference. We are dealing with economic pressures. We are dealing with press freedom. Our colleague Ahmed Swale, who was gruesomely murdered, till date, we don't know the perpetrators. Look at what happened to our senior colleague Manasseh. In 2019, after doing such an important story, he had to leave the country because his life was in danger. That is not how the world sees Ghana. You know, we are a shining example when it comes to democracy for a lot of people. But we've seen that over the last few years, we are, you know, eroding the gains that we have made over the years. So I think that we need to address some of these challenges. Then finally, the issue about exploitation. Any opportunity that I get, I talk about it. When journalists are poorly paid, they become susceptible to corruption. They become susceptible to bribery, and that is an integrity issue. And I don't think that media owners are giving a priority to the issue of remuneration. How can you have a news editor taking 4,000 cedis a month? What is he going to do with that amount of money? So I think that there's a lot of promise, but there are critical challenges that have been neglected for the longest time that we need to address.
Finally, and briefly, for this prestigious fellowship that you've earned for yourself, rightly so, there are people who might also be thinking of applying. What would be your advice to them briefly? You can speak to the camera.
Yes, just be you. Be you. You see, I think people should realize that fellowships are not for a show off. You apply for a fellowship because you have identified a skill gap that you have, that you need some sort of refinement. You know, so go with your real, authentic self. Don't say that, okay, I think this is what they will be interested in, you know, selecting, or this is what they are interested in. Look at your journey and just be honest with yourself. You know, take a sober reflection of how your journey has been over the years as a journalist. If you feel you are not ready, just be honest with yourself and give yourself some time and apply. The Nieman Fellowship, this is the 88th year, which means that it has existed for 88 years. So if you cannot apply next year, there are more years ahead that you can apply. Take your time and tell your story. And also, the final thing that I will say is that as part of the application, you need to have a study plan. And the study plan must also be in line with the work that you have done over the years. So for instance, if you say you want to do something about climate change coverage in Africa, and they look at your portfolio, the work that you have done over the years, and it doesn't feature a lot of, you know, work on climate change, and it becomes problematic what experience you have gathered to be able to, you know, embark on that project. So just be you. That's all that I have got to say.
And thank you, Ridwan, for being you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, Joshua.
Ridwan Karim Dini-Osman, he's an international journalist. That's how I'll just put it. And it's been wonderful having that conversation with him. Ridwan, we'll talk.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Well, this is still GA Today here on GHOne Television. We have our final interview to wrap up the show. Stick and stay with us.